Straight ahead on KCAL9 News at 4, an elderly woman attacked inside her own home after a prowler breaks in. Now the search is on for the suspect. Plus, we will be joined live by LA County Health Director Barbara Ferrer to discuss businesses moving into the yellow tier. And a new mom who nearly lost her life to coronavirus will be celebrating Mother's Day with the baby this Sunday. Their emotional story coming up. And a nice weekend, in fact, for Mother's Day. Alex Biston will have the forecast next, right here at 4.
Live from the Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is KCAL9 News at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Juan Fernandez.
Hi everyone, I'm Susie Sa. This is KCAL9 News at 4 and we're streaming on CBSN Los Angeles. Well, we've already had a preview of it this spring, but the signs point to another dangerous fire season ahead as the state deals with drought conditions.
KCAL9's Rachel Kim live in Santa Clarita for us now with a warning. Rachel?
Yeah, Juan and Susie, LA County's fire chief says that they are being proactive for what they expect to be a very busy and challenging wildfire season. They say they are already conducting fuel reduction projects in the field, and they will be aggressively conducting inspections for all residents and commercial properties in wildfire areas. But they also say the community needs to play its part.
It was just over 1 week ago when a brush fire burned hundreds of acres in Castaic and Valencia and triggered mandatory evacuations. The next day, this fire broke out near Highway 101 in Thousand Oaks.
That type of fire and growth would normally be unprecedented for this time of the year.
Local, state, and federal officials are now urging everyone to be prepared for wildfires because of our ongoing drought, increasing temperatures across the state, and low live fuel moisture. They say that moisture is falling faster than normal.
These indicators, along with others, lead us to believe that this will be another busy and challenging wildfire season.
We've already had more fires this year than we had this time last year. To date, 700+% higher number of acres burned in California.
It was horrible. I mean, the fire was coming over the hill, and it was pretty intense.
Canyon Country resident Marcos Briano is thankful his home wasn't damaged during the tick fire in October 2019. Sadly, his neighbor's house was destroyed. Kim Pro's family lives nearby, and she says every time she looks at homes that are now being rebuilt after the tick fire, she's reminded of the potential for wildfires any time of the year.
Right now, there's dead trees behind our house that need to be cleared, and there's a lot of dry brush, and it's a big concern.
Fire officials are asking everyone to help them by being ready with an evacuation plan and reducing the risk of devastation to your homes and community.
We urge you now, if nothing else, to start doing your brush clearance. It's important that you create defensible space around your homes.
Now, on critical fire days, LA County fire officials will be devoting additional resources and personnel out in the field in fire-prone areas. Again, they're asking everyone to remain vigilant. They say over 90% of wildfires are human-caused. Reporting live in Santa Clarita, Rachel Kim, KCAL9 News.
Okay, Rachel, thank you very much. A prolific burglary suspect threw police for a loop until they discovered he was wearing a mask, and that wasn't the only surprise. Security images show the suspect wearing glasses and having tousled auburn hair. The suspect in the photo appears to be white. Police have now released the suspect's mugshot, and it turns out he's actually black. On Sunday, Beverly Hills police stopped a car they believe was connected to the burglaries. Inside, they found the mask and 30-year-old Rokeem Prowl. He's suspected in a string of burglaries in both LA and Orange counties.
A local family is calling for justice after a mother was run down on her morning walk. Justa Garcia was walking in a crosswalk in Compton when she was hit and killed by a truck driven by Dennis Poindexter in December of 2018. After a second review of the case, District Attorney George Gascon decided not to charge the man with any crime. But family members say the case was poorly handled by the Sheriff's Department and the DA.
She's dead. And the guy that did this to her, he's still out there, free.
The Sheriff's Department slanted the investigation in favor of the driver that took Justa Garcia's life.
Lawyers for the family say Poindexter was speeding and he may have been texting, and they say he was convicted of texting while driving in the past. We've reached out to the DA's office for comment, and we are still waiting back.
The hunt is on this afternoon for a predator who sexually assaulted a 79-year-old woman after breaking into her home.
And investigators say it was one of a string of crimes in the area. KCAL9's Joy Benedict is live in Hacienda Heights with that story for us. Hey, Joy.
Hey, Juan. Hey, Susie. Yeah, this is just a terrifying story and one that has everybody here in this community very, very concerned. That particular break-in involving a woman in her 70s happened here on Quist Avenue. We are not showing you the home for obvious reasons, as we don't want to accidentally identify the victim of this sexual assault. But as you mentioned, it was not the only crime. During a very short period early Sunday morning, there was also another burglary and a couple of car break-ins. I want to show you an image taken from a Ring camera. This is of a man investigators with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department say was involved in one of those burglaries, but not the one that involved the sexual assault. So that's very important. You also see another Ring video of a man running across the neighborhood. That's also been handed over to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. But again, all of this happened early Sunday morning, sometimes between the times of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. in about a 4-block neighborhood here in Hacienda Heights. What we know is we had the 70-year-old woman who was sexually assaulted inside her home early that morning after someone broke in. As for that suspect, investigators see it is a young man in his early 20s that they believe committed that particular crime. That's the only information they have on him. They say there was also a separate burglary at another home. There were also 2 cars that were broken into, and they are looking at that image that I showed you as a possible suspect in that other home burglary. But nonetheless, folks here in this community are very, very concerned about the crime that continues to be on the rise, and they want to make sure the suspect or suspects and everyone involved is found.
One, disturbing the peace is just bad as it is, but then the sexual assault, that's another world.
That's just disgusting to me, honestly. That's wrong. Like, this, whatever this guy's doing, he needs to be caught immediately, because this is not okay at all.
It certainly is not. Neighbors are very upset. They're very scared that this will continue. So, again, investigators with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are asking everyone to search through their security video. They know the string of crimes happened between about 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. early Sunday morning. That was May the 2nd. If you see anybody just darting across your lawn or running down the street, they want to see that video as they're trying to figure out who exactly committed those crimes. But again, I have to reiterate, that photo that we showed you of somebody who could be a suspect in the burglary is not the suspect, or they don't know if it's the suspect is the same one as in that sexual assault. So that's very important to keep in mind, as they are not connecting all of those crimes at this time. I'll send it back to you guys.
And some new video would be very helpful. Joy, thank you. Paul Van Doren, the co-founder of the shoe company Vans, has died at the age of 90. Van Doren started the Costa Mesa-based company more than 50 years ago with his brother James. Their first Vans shoe store opened in Anaheim in 1966. The company has grown into a global multi-billion-dollar shoe and clothing empire since then.
Well, as more people get vaccinated, things are opening up, and the hope is that will lead to more economic recovery. But it's going slower than many economists expected. The Labor Department reporting 266,000 new jobs last month. That's far below the 1 million jobs that some economists were predicting. The unemployment rate is still above 6%. And analysts say one of the biggest drags could be extended jobless benefits rather. Some believe they're providing an incentive for workers to stay home.
Today, there's more evidence that our economy is moving in the right direction. But it's clear we have a long way to go.
Clearly, if somebody can make more money by being home and collecting unemployment and taking care of their families, that's a smart economic decision. And it may force restaurants and some of the other areas of the economy to really pick up the wages.
Well, the White House says it doesn't see evidence that unemployment is keeping people from looking for work. The economy still has more than 8 million fewer jobs, though, than it did at the start of the pandemic.
Well, for the first time in history, California's population is falling. The state says we lost more than 182,000 people in 2020. The nation's most populous state now has just under 39.5 million people. The past several years have seen some small increases along the way. Well, last week, the Census Bureau said the state would lose a congressional seat for the first time. State officials blame a declining birth rate, immigration reductions, and deaths from coronavirus. They do expect, though, the population to increase again next year.
Well, business is always in bloom for florists around Mother's Day, of course, but those bouquets could cost you a bundle. KCAL9's Tina Patel went to the Flower Mall in downtown LA to find out why.
Selena Ramirez might be a mom of 5, but this Mother's Day weekend, she's thinking about the other moms in her life. She came to the California Flower Mall this morning to buy flowers and plants for her co-workers.
One of them is a first-time mom, one's been a mother forever and a day, and I just want to appreciate them.
She noticed the prices at the California Flower Mall were higher than normal, but she knows most of the businesses here are small, family-owned operations that suffered during the pandemic.
I'd rather pay more for something for them, so then they can be able to help their families out. Because this is, these businesses are here for a reason. They need to make money somehow.
The vendors aren't willingly raising prices. This year, there is just less of a supply. Some flower producers in Central and South America went out of business over the last year.
A lot of the farms had to basically, their crops were destroyed. Labor is in short supply because of the pandemic. So, it is an issue.
So there might not be as many choices if people wait until the last minute to buy a bouquet. But one vendor says for most moms, it's not the style or size of an arrangement that matters.
Something small, anything, just one rose, one carnation, anything. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you give her something, she will like it.
Because moms just want to feel appreciated, especially after all they've been asked to do this past year.
They need more than just flowers. They need a whole day, champagne. They need the whole works.
Yes, all the moms, grandmoms, and mother figures deserve to be treated. And that's why the National Retail Federation thinks this could be a record-setting holiday. They're expecting the average American to spend $220 on mom. At the California Flower Mall, Tina Patel, KCAL9 News.
That may be so, but mom is priceless, right?
Exactly right. It doesn't matter the price. She just wants to be with you. That's it.
Yeah, and a phone call if she's not in town
exactly
will do just
is
as
always
well,
good.
Too. Right. All right, a new low in LA County's fight against COVID-19. Some promising numbers coming up.
Also, we're going to talk about that and much more on the fight against the virus when we're joined live by LA County Public Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer ahead.
Plus, an Irvine man is in trouble with the law, accused of using pandemic relief funds to purchase a personal fleet of fancy cars.
An extra special Mother's Day for one mom who feared that she would never see her newborn again after COVID forced her to deliver early and remain in the hospital on ventilation for over a month. I'm Jasmine Beal here in Pacoima with their emotional reunion coming up.
And happy Friday, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the cooler day across Southern California. I'll have a look at your weekend forecast, plus what you can expect for Mother's Day. That's coming up.
Crocs is donating 50,000 pairs of shoes to healthcare workers. It says it will give away 10,000 a day, Monday through Friday of next week. The Crocs at Work line features several slip-resistant options designed for nurses. Crocs says it donated more than 860,000 pairs of shoes to frontline workers, in fact, last year.
Well, COVID-19 cases are at their lowest point in 7 months, and the CDC says at least 45% of all Americans have received at least one dose of a coronavirus vaccine. Meanwhile, Pfizer has become the first pharmaceutical company to ask the Food and Drug Administration for full approval of its COVID vaccine. Like the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, Pfizer's COVID shot is currently being administered under local emergency use authorization. Full approval could lead some organizations and schools to create stronger vaccine requirements.
Well, it's a very special weekend this weekend because, a lot of people actually haven't seen their moms for a very long time. So they might be seeing her for the first time this weekend in a long time.
And the best gift, other than their children and family, weather's going to be pretty nice.
Yes, and I was going to say, I think mom also wants some relaxing time, maybe a little spa time, right? I'm not a mom, but I could imagine.
Don't overwhelm them, right?
I was going to say, I could imagine really wanting that. Yes, good afternoon, Susie and Juan. You know what? We have a really nice Mother's Day weekend set up for for you weather-wise. Currently on this Friday afternoon, well, we are looking at a mostly clear sky as we head along the coast and inland as well. So we woke up this morning to the very thick marine layer clouds, and a lot of that has dissipated this afternoon, but we will have the clouds come back as we head into the evening hours. Currently, temperature-wise, we are sitting nice and comfortable in the upper 60s out towards Santa Monica, although wind's a little bit of an issue this afternoon as we see that strong onshore flow. So we are seeing double-digit wind speeds from Ontario into Van Nuys, Camarillo, right along the Ventura County coastline up toward Lancaster, the Antelope Valley, and for the Inland Empire as well. So wind advisories are in place for areas like the Antelope Valley, the mountains of Los Angeles County up into Ventura County as well, and portions of the San Gorgonio Pass. So we have this wind advisory with us through this evening and into tomorrow, and some areas even into Sunday. So we will have gusty westerly winds through this weekend. Just something to know if you have plans to travel through areas like the I-5 corridor. So your Mother's Day weekend setting up again to be really nice. We have clouds coming back into the picture into the overnight hours. We'll start off our day with the low clouds Saturday and Sunday, but more sunshine by the afternoon hours. And temperature wise, we're going to be sitting in the lower 70s. So we have this trough of low pressure. This is going to move just up to the north of us, and this is going to hang out with us through this weekend. High pressure building in as we head into the start and middle of next week will help bring us some warmer temperatures, especially for our inland spots, and some areas will climb into the 80s and even lower 90s as we head into the middle of next week. So here's a check of your extended forecast. Look for lower 70s tomorrow afternoon in LA and Orange County, upper 70s in the valleys. We will slowly warm it up as we head into the middle of next week. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Alex, thank you very much. Well, this has been a milestone week in the battle against the pandemic here in LA County. The move into the yellow tier now means, of course, more businesses are closer to fully reopening.
Yeah, that's some good news. For more on LA County moving into the yellow tier and the very latest in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic, joining us live now is LA County Public Health Director, Dr. Barbara Ferrer. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Civil rights pioneer Dolores Huerta helped break ground today on a homeless apartment project that will bear her name. She, Councilman Curran Price, and backers of the project attended the ceremony this morning in South LA. The units being built on South Figueroa Street in Council District 9 will house 40 people. The model is based on shipping containers converted into livable units. Councilman Price was able to help cut the costs and the turnaround time of the units by almost 2/3. Huerta says she wants to see more of this across LA and across the country.
Seeing what is happening here, I think it's going to be a model for the rest of the country, and I hope that other developers, other people that provide the capital, will see this model that you're doing here and make it happen quicker, faster, so that more people can get off of the street.
The apartments are expected to be ready by the end of the year. By the way, Huerta turned 91 years old last month. I know it doesn't look like it. Two students from Dolores Huerta Elementary presented her with Mother's Day flowers today.
She looks great too, and sounds great too. A local group of members of Congress got a look inside the shelter for unaccompanied migrant children at the Pomona Fairplex today. The congressional delegation was led by Representative Norma Torres.
As someone who came here as a child from Guatemala myself, I am incredibly proud to see Pomona residents stepping up to help these incredible, vulnerable children receive the dignity, security, and bright future that each and every one of them deserves.
Torres was also joined by 5 other lawmakers today, including Representative Karen Bass. It was their first tour of the temporary shelter. As of midweek, there were about 200 children being housed there. We've also learned earlier this week that 14 of them had tested positive for COVID-19 and are being isolated. Well, you may recall video from just a few weeks ago showing packed conditions inside a migrant processing facility at the Texas-Mexico border. But today, things are looking a lot different.
Yeah, KCAL9's Natalie Brand shows us what lawmakers saw when they visited today.
I see you.
TV cameras followed DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and members of Congress as they toured a Donna, Texas migrant processing facility Friday. What they showed was a marked change from the overcrowded conditions there just a little over a month ago.
Today at this facility, rather than approximately 3,700 unaccompanied children, there are 334.
The visit comes as the Biden administration touts progress in moving the minors from CBP facilities that were not designed for children. They're now in more appropriate emergency facilities run by the Department of Health and Human Services. It's estimated HHS continues to house around 22,000 migrant children.
The challenge is not entirely behind us, though we have accomplished a great deal.
Congressional Republicans have repeatedly blamed the Biden administration for the current situation at the southern border, while congressional Democrats continue to push for comprehensive immigration reform.
We are doing our best to reach out to Republicans in the Congress. I've had conversations with them about the U.S. Citizenship Act.
The president tasked Vice President Kamala Harris with helping to address the root causes of migration. Friday, she met virtually with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
It is in our country's mutual interest to provide immediate relief to the Northern Triangle.
Those discussions will continue in person next month when the vice president travels to Mexico and Guatemala on what will be her first foreign trip. Natalie Brand, KCAL9 News.
New charges today in the George Floyd case. Up next, what the officers are facing now.
Plus, a new mom nearly lost her life to coronavirus, and now she and her new baby will celebrate Mother's Day together. Their emotional story ahead.
And an attorney says his client should not be held responsible for storming the Capitol. The defense you need to hear to believe.
Now 4:30, new charges today against the former Minneapolis police officer already convicted for the murder of George Floyd. Derek Chauvin has now been indicted on federal charges along with the 3 other officers who were on the scene when Floyd died.
KCAL9's Amy Johnson joins us with details on the charges they now face. Amy.
Juan and Susie, a 3-count federal indictment was unsealed today. The officers are all accused of violating Floyd's constitutional rights while he was restrained face down on the ground, gasping for air. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin has now been indicted by a federal grand jury just weeks after being convicted on state charges for the murder of George Floyd. The 3-count federal indictment accuses Chauvin and 3 other former officers, Thomas Lane, Jay King, and To Thao, of violating Floyd's civil rights. Count 1 alleges Chauvin used unreasonable force. New York Law School professor Rebecca Royfe says this means Chauvin now faces another trial, this time federal, with a new jury.
It alleges that the officers violated George Floyd's civil rights, meaning that they interfered with his constitutional rights. Here, the right to be free from an unreasonable seizure, which also involves the right to be free from an unreasonable use of force.
Thao and King were charged in connection with failing to intervene to stop Chauvin while he knelt on Floyd's neck. Chauvin is also facing a second federal indictment, this one for an incident in September of 2017. He's accused of holding his knee on the neck and back of a handcuffed 14-year-old for 17 minutes. Floyd family attorney Ben Crump responded in a statement. We are encouraged by these charges and eager to see continued justice in this historic case that will impact Black citizens and all Americans for generations to come. Royfe says being charged federally after a state conviction is unusual, but it's a sign the federal government wants to make sure Chauvin and the other defendants face consequences.
After this year of reckoning with racial justice issues, the federal government, especially under Biden, wants to make a clear statement about its stance with regard to police brutality.
All 4 also face charges for failure to provide Floyd with medical care. Now, Chauvin's sentencing for murder and manslaughter is set for next month. The other 3 former officers are expected to face their state criminal trial this summer. I'll send it back to you, Juan.
Amy, thanks for that. A Lakers fan is suing the city of LA, saying he lost his right eye when police fired a projectile at fans celebrating the team's championship win last year. William Gonzalez and his brother Michael celebrated the team's win on October 11th near Staples Center. LAPD declared an unlawful assembly and dispersed the crowd. Well, Gonzalez says he sat down to eat at 11th and Flower Streets when he saw officers chasing fans. He was struck in the face by a police projectile. He was rushed to a California Hospital Medical Center where he says doctors removed his right eye. His lawyers claim officers failed to meet department standards when they aimed their projectile gun at their client's head. And a representative from the LA City Attorney's Office told us, "We will review the lawsuit. We have no further comment."
An attorney for one of the defendants in the U.S. Capitol breach is now blaming his client's actions on what he calls Fox-itis. During a virtual hearing yesterday, Anthony Antonio's lawyer said Antonio lost his job at the start of the pandemic and watched Fox News constantly for the next 6 months. The lawyer says he developed Fox-itis and Fox mania and believed what Fox News reported and what then President Trump said about the 2020 election. Antonio is charged with 5 federal crimes, including violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds and destruction of government property. Antonio has not yet entered a plea.
An Orange County man is accused of using COVID relief PPP loan money for lavish purchases. A federal indictment of 38-year-old Mustafa Kadiri says he got about $5 million for a sham business and then spent the money on sports cars. The indictment says the Irvine man claimed to run 4 businesses in Newport Beach, which he falsified documents for. Federal agents have seized a Ferrari, a Bentley, and a Lamborghini, among with $2 million. Kadiri was arrested today and is expected to make his first court appearance in Santa Ana.
A COVID patient who got to spend just moments with her newborn son before being put on a ventilator has a lot to celebrate this Mother's Day.
That's right. The two are now home together and healthy. KCAL9's Jasmine Veal met them today.
Natalie Herrera is enjoying these special moments with her now 6-month-old son.
This is Felipe Ignacio Herrera. He's teething, so he's just grabbing my finger.
But Herrera says she's lucky to be here. At 37 weeks pregnant, she tested positive for COVID and was rushed to a hospital for an emergency C-section when she couldn't breathe. As soon as her son was born in November, they took him away.
The nurse brought him over. They kissed his forehead, and then he was whisked away from there on.
She was then taken to Providence St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, where Dr. Therese Hammond took over.
She was as close to death as you can get. We got her on ECMO really just in the nick of time.
As she was about to be intubated, she told her husband she feared she wouldn't make it back home.
And I'm like, what if I'm sorry. Like, what if I don't wake up, right? I haven't even held my baby.
Natalie was among the alarming number of pregnant women getting sick with COVID during the surge. LA County Health reported that during the month of December, the number of pregnant women getting sick with COVID had increased to over 400 cases a week.
Altogether, we had, I think, 4 or 5 patients like Natalie. Unfortunately, not all of them survived. And, you know, that's the reality of COVID.
But Herrera did survive. And on December 15th, after more than 37 days after she kissed her newborn that first time, she headed home. Her 4-year-old son Joaquin hugging her at the hospital. And then she was finally able to hold her baby.
It was the biggest blessing to be able to hold them, you know, and just to smell him. And
she says she doesn't know the long-term complications from COVID yet, but will celebrate being here with her kids on this Mother's Day.
I'm really grateful.
Natalie still suffers from hair loss, memory loss, and numbness, but she is determined to walk with her graduating class at the end of this month with Cal State Dominguez Hills with a degree in business administration. Here in Pacoima, Jasmine Veal, KCAL9 News.
They're looking for help at SoFi Stadium, and we have the details just ahead.
Plus, as more people return to flying, airlines are seeing returns on Wall Street.
And from flowers to chocolates, with prices on the rise, we're going to tell you how much Americans are expected to spend on Mother's Day gifts. Love that song.
Yep.
Vax Live, the concert to reunite the world, was held at SoFi Stadium on Sunday for a select group of vaccinated frontline workers. The concert was held to help fund millions of vaccines overseas, and Selena Gomez hosted the show.
I want to do nothing more than to shine the light on why it's important, why people should get it, and why other people who may not, be a part of our country desperately need this as well.
Well, among the performers taking part, J-Lo, the Foo Fighters, and Eddie Vedder. President Biden and the First Lady, as well as Prince Harry right there, Chrissy Teigen, and others made special appearances. You'll have a chance to see it tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on our sister station, CBS 2.
Look at J-Lo doing a little Neil Diamond, huh?
Looking fabulous, too.
Very
That's
nice.
so much fun. Oh, my
it.
goodness.
Love it.
SoFi Stadium is hosting a job fair right now. There are 3,000 job openings, in fact. The fairs will happen over the next 3 weeks.
That's right. They're on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Openings available include guest services, food and beverage vendors, crowd management, security, ticket operations and parking, and more. There's an application to fill out before you get there. You can find a link to the application over on our website, so just head over to KCAL9.com.
Gas prices just got crazy again here in Southern California. I'm Cara Finstrom. Coming up, we're going to tell you how some folks were able to get a free tank today, and when everyone else can expect a little bit of relief.
The Dow soared to a new record despite a disappointing jobs report. Experts believe investors aren't spooked by that report, thinking it's more of a blip and not an indication the economy is slowing down. The Dow gained 229 points, the Nasdaq was up 119, and a record day for the S&P 500, in fact, closing up 31 points.
Airline stocks rose today with American, Delta, United, and Southwest all seeing gains. This comes on the heels of the TSA reporting that more than 1.6 million people were screened at U.S. airports yesterday, the busiest day for air travel since the pandemic began. The previous pandemic high for air travel was last Sunday, and with this being Mother's Day weekend, of course, this record is likely to be surpassed quickly as well. Dollar stores reigning supreme and the pandemic. Amid the pandemic, the retail research firm CoreSight says Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and Family Dollar make up about 45% of new stores opening up this year. These openings are a continuation of discount stores' rapid growth even before the pandemic. Economists and retail analysts say dollar stores are expanding in part because of growing wealth inequality in the U.S.
Well, spare no expense on mom, you hear? That seems to be the mantra for Mother's Day this year. According to the National Retail Federation, Americans plan to spend more than $28 billion on their moms. That's up $1.4 billion from last year. Jewelry and electronics lead the list of gifts to give, and about 49% of people say they will go out for brunch or do some sort of other outing.
Well, the average price of gas in LA County has gone up every day for the last 2 weeks. It's now at its highest point in a year and a half.
AAA says a gallon of regular unleaded costs $4.13 in LA County. In Orange County, it's $4.09, so a little bit cheaper there. And in San Bernardino County, it's $4.06. But KCAL9's Cara Finstrom shows us a popular radio and TV personality let some lucky drivers get gas for free this morning.
It helps because this wastes a lot of gas, this car, compared to my Honda.
Eric Monreal was near the front of a very long line for free gas in the San Fernando Valley. The pandemic hit him hard. He says he lost a loved one and has been dealing with unexpected expenses. The free tank helps.
Thank God I've been working 40 hours a week, but, you know, things are tough.
Right, you see how the gas prices are continuing to go up, and we figured, if we got the first 106 cars out here, filled them up.
Nick Cannon and the morning team at Power 106 pumped up to 10 free gallons.
What in the world? Are you kidding me?
I'm pumping your gas.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
And that made for some very valuable social media posts. But with gas here in LA County now averaging more than $4.13 for a gallon of regular self-serve unleaded, everyone here was excited about saving more than $40.
We always see price increases in the spring. That's typical of Southern California. But yeah, we're a little higher than I would have expected at this point.
Jeffrey Spring with AAA says increased demand for gas with people returning to work, switching to the summer gas blend, and issues with refineries are to blame. The good news, prices should settle down soon.
If it's a typical year, prices should level off late May, early June, and then start dropping through the summer.
Free gas for you, no doubt, man. It's how we do. We making it happen.
From San Fernando, Cara Finstrom, KCAL9 News.
Well, sadly, Susie, the next Phillip is not going to be so exciting, right?
Like Nick Cannon pumping your gas. How about that?
What a shocker, right?
Alex?
Absolutely. I was going to say, I've noticed it too. I even drive a Prius and I have noticed it. Gas prices skyrocketing.
18 French bulldogs rescued from China have arrived here in Southern California.
That's right. The canines were flown in by a nonprofit called Dog Is My Co-Pilot. The CEO of Wagmore Pets in Studio City told us the dogs were actually rescued a year ago, but were stuck in Asia due to COVID-19 restrictions. But the French bulldogs are here now and ready to be adopted. And if you want to adopt one, expect to pay a premium, of course, because of the special care requirements for bulldogs. We're told the Frenchies are between 1 and 3 years old.
They also came a very long way, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. So sweet. Thank you so much for watching KCAL9 News at 4. Our next newscast is just moments away on CBS 2 News at 5.
And we're always on CBSLA.com. We will see you again tonight for more news on KCAL9 News at 8, 9, and 10.
We'll see you then.